Hi, friends. Hello, the world. Welcome back to this episode of Tools for Transitioning podcast. And today is the third episode already. So get ready. We will be talking about one of the most crucial tools ever. And that tool is who we are. And you remember that Tools for Transitioning Humanitarian podcast is all about using all the tools within you already without really going outside to the external world to get the tools from. Because I'm a strong believer in how we have been given all the tools necessary to create the orchestra, to create the masterpieces, to create the whatever the most complex things you can imagine. We have the tools to create all of that. In fact, that's how we have created human beings, have created orchestra, the opera, the theaters, all of these things, the amazing achievements in the world, and the amazing expression of skills in the world has come from our individually tools within us. So that's why I really want you to start accessing all of that now. And that's the whole point of these podcasts. So today I really want to talk about who and the self concept of who we really are, who we really want to be, whether we're transitioning, whether we're living our lives the way we want to currently, wherever we are. And there are so many reasons why it's important that we get really clear about it. But one of the main reason is because whenever we're making decisions, whenever we are making changes, whenever we're going for something new, or whenever we are even making changes in our current lives, it's always important to have that constant concept of who we really are that guides us towards that change, guides us towards that process, so that we always come back to and say, this is who we are, and therefore we make these type of decisions, these type of movements, these type of actions to get to where we want to be. Right. And the other important thing is obviously so that we are clear of who we really are in the world, and who we really are in the world that has then the expression of how we want to contribute, how we want to make the impact, how we want to live our lives, how we want to enjoy our freedoms, how we want to be examples for other people. And that all comes to really getting clear as to who we really are. And I know that whenever I talk about this, there is always a risk that people understand me to mean, oh, it's a very difficult thing to do, or it's like I need to get really clear about my values, or I need to get clear about my visions. And we make things like very complex and difficult, and therefore we don't even go forward to really understanding who we really are. And I really don't want you to do that. Don't complicate things at all. Think of it as the most easy tool you have within you, which is you understanding, studying, learning who you really are, or who you really want to be. This is it. And we will be just looking at the list of things. And in fact, I will show you. This is how I have created my own list, and I will go through them with you just as an example. And I have noticed in my own life that a lot of the things that I have self-taught to myself. So that's why I don't tend to go by the rule books or by I don't know, like sophisticated things that people introduce to me, because my brain tends to say that, oh, it's difficult to implement, right? So that's why I tend to be someone who just makes a list and goes by it. So that's why it's going to be that simple. So I have just a two lists basically. The list that I have shown you, even though it may sound to you like looks like a lot of different things, but it's actually the two list. And this is what I have also done it back when I was about to transition from my humanitarian life to becoming a life coach. And I have also done it even before transitioning at all. I have really sat down to think about who am I currently and who do I really want to be? And then focus on being that person that I really want to be. Right. And that list of who I really want to be, maybe some of the things that I have forgotten who I really was. And because of keep reacting to the external circumstances in my world, that I may have forgotten at times who I really was. And therefore, that want list is really the reflection of who I really am. But because of certain circumstances, I may have forgotten to express myself in that way. Right. So that's why don't think of it as like a wish list, even though it can be a wish list, but it's more like this is what who I've been. And maybe, I mean, in my case, I've always like made the changes in my life when I really got so tired of being who I really didn't want to be. Right. So that's why I just decided one day that this is who I really want to be. So that's why I really got curious back in the day, and even now, as I was like preparing for this podcast, I have really gotten curious as to who I'm really being now and who I really want to be. Right. So you can do it at any stage of your life, at any given moment in your life, whether you are transitioning or not. But it's so crucial that you do that if you are about to transition or in the process of transitioning or thinking about transitioning, especially when this will guide you through some of the decisions that you will be making. So to highlight one of the examples of what I mean so that it's not vague for some of you, is that recently I was talking also in a post about a client who was telling me that he has a dilemma of so his desire is to work in the field in the advocacy or project management roles, but he has a dilemma of what to do because he has been offered in the past to go to grant writing roles, grant manager, I think is called usually, right? Roles in the field. He's currently working in the HQ position and in the donor side. So that's why he was offered several times to work in the field as grant writing manager. And he does not find that job exciting or that's what he really wants to do. But he was also thinking himself of being in the dilemma of, well, that would give me an easy entry into the field position, right? And in those moments, I told him, if you really trusted and confident in yourself and your abilities and your experience of what you've done so far, would you really accept that uh, grant writing position, right? And his answer was clear, no. And the reason why he was considering that is because he was not really trusting that he can get the other jobs, and therefore he's like going for the, in his mind, the easy entry. And think about it, how often do we really do this to ourselves? Is because I think excuse me, we think of ourselves even if we're in the mid career of our lives, even if we have done the experience of certain things, we somehow still get to the mindset of back when we finished university and we just were so keen and like so curious to get into the humanitarian world, and therefore we just start agreeing to all the possibilities so that we can get a taste of what it is like and how it is like, so that we can distill our thirst for experience, for knowledge, for contribution, and all of this, right? And I feel like that type of mindset continues to come along even if we have made so many years of experience already in different positions. Now, I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't have that curiosity and naive, in some ways, maybe idealistic, and ready for passion, ready for contribution type of experience in the mindset. Absolutely, you have it. But at the same time, I would love for you to think about who have you become so far? Who are you now in terms of the person, the professional who is confident, who is trusting in the experience that you've gathered so far. And why not focus on getting the exact job that you want now? Right? Why not go for the exact thing that you're really wanting now in order to start immediately creating the impact that you want to, contribute the way you want to, instead of again going to, oh, what if I don't get this? What if I don't get that? And in those moments, who we really are and who we've become in our journey so far becomes so crucial to always remember and allow us to guide through our transition, right? So I hope that this was clear in terms of why we need this who really dialed down clear. Now, that will also be important to make everyday decisions in our lives currently, whether we're transitioning or not as well, right? So whether we decide to compromise here or we don't compromise here, whether we continue saying things and then really not delivering on those things, or we decide to be in integrity with ourselves and really say only the things that we can actually deliver on, right? So it will so become important even in our daily lives of really always coming back to who do I really am and who do I want to be in this process, in this difficulty, in this challenging times when I really need to be the person I really want to be. So here is the list that I have come up for myself back in the day, and also continue to refresh on this every time. And I would love for you to come up with your list. And it can be as simple as just put the list of whatever comes to mind as to who you are currently or who do you want to be, right? And then once we have that list, then we decide really on the who do we want to be and start focusing on that in terms of how do we strengthen that with lots of different evidence to back up who we really are. So whatever the want list becomes who we are now, and then start gathering new evidence to strengthen that personality that we're reinforcing and improving, or whichever the word you want to use it, right? Because once we get so crystal clear on who we are and how that is true and how we believe that, then no matter what the waves of the world or the waves of the ocean as we go through the transitioning, no matter what that will happen, how challenging it will be, we'll always refer back to, no, this is who I am. And therefore, this is the decision I'm going to take. Yes, it will be risky, or yes, it will be scary. Yes, it will be this and this, but this is who I am. So we go through that process, that decision, that action, really relying on who we are, and we become the constant in that unpredictable or unstable, whatever the situations we are in, right? So here is the list that I want to present to you from my own example, and I would love for you to have your own example and then decide on being the person that you want to be as of now. Even if the your brain will be saying that no, but I'm not this person. I haven't been able to. I tried in the past and didn't work. All the things that your brain will be coming up, and that's okay. No matter what your brain will be objecting, start practicing, start embodying, start being that person as of now. And then when your brain will be objecting, you will always respond to that. You will always um, uh, have a look at those thoughts or opinions, but still continue being and embodying the person who you want to be as of now. Like being that person now, and start gathering new data of how you are being that person that you really want to be. no matter what the circumstances you are in. And especially if you are not at the place of transitioning, but at the place of where you are currently, start like being that person now so that you have more choices later to decide whether you want to leave or not, whether you need to leave or not. Because if you are really the person who you want to be truly in the place where you are, maybe chances are you don't even want to leave. And you will have that option. You will have created for yourself that option to be there before making any moves. Okay, so let me give you my example. So I really wanted to be, and I am currently also living, breathing, embodying this, being the trusting person, trusting of myself, my abilities, and of other people that I interact with. I am the honest person and embodying honesty the whole time. I am embodying being integrity with myself the whole time, meaning that if I say something, I also deliver on it, right? I'm also in alignment with what I'm really wanting to create in the world, and doing and working only on the things that feels meaningful to me, right? I'm also the person who feels confident in myself and also feels confident in solving the problems that as they come along in the strong way rather than dodging them and avoiding them. I'm also the person who trusts my feelings, my opportunities I create, the possibilities I create. So once I have done this list of who I am, I also had a big list of who I don't want to be because I find the contrast for me is so helpful to understand um, and strengthen who I really am. And that contrast of who I don't want to be is also important for me as a reminder in case I derail from who I'm wanting to be, right? And I recommend to you to do the same if you are someone who likes the contrast to give you a clarity. But if you're someone who's then gets frustrated and overwhelmed with that, oh my God, I am this person or I don't want to be, and all those things, then don't even think about it. So here is my list of who I don't want to be. So I don't want to be the person who is pretentious, who is people pleasing, meaning that who just tells other people just for the sake of getting their approval. I don't want to be the person who attaches to something like privileges or status or positions or contracts, right? I also don't want to be the person who compromises or who just neglects my own needs. I don't want to be also the person who gets overwhelmed and survives the whole time. I don't want to be the person who has R&Rs and vacations being my highlights of my life. I want to be the person who has the impact, the concrete results, concrete, tangible things to be the highlight of my life. And I also want meaningful relationships to be the highlight of my life and not seeing people once in a while and just having the superfluous um, or at times like somehow clarifying conversations of relationships and then just goes away and then bees um, in other countries and working and then comes back. Do you know what I mean? So I really wanted to be the person who builds and maintains the deep connecting relationships physically in presence most of the time, right? So also, I didn't want to be the person who surrounds in an environment where everything needs to be proven. And this is, I think, one of the biggest shifts that I have made is when I changed my humanitarian role to life coaching role, I have realized this so much that I did not want to be anymore in the environment where I have to be proving all times why it's needed, how it's needed, measuring and like proving in numbers and proving in reports that this is needed, even though I really wanted to actually humanly help make changes in the sustainable way. Right. So that's why I didn't want to be that person who has to like prove personally or professionally how great I am or how deserving I am or how this I am, how whatever the I am, and like doing that and then also proving the whole time my work to others so they can approve and then they can give money to make the help that I want to make. I didn't want to be that person anymore. So once I have another big one that I really wanted to mention here that I see that is I didn't want to be also the person who undermines myself, undermines my ability, in whatever the form possible. And also, I didn't want to be in a position where I need to undermine someone else's position or someone else's contribution, someone else's expressions, right? I also didn't want to be the person who finds relief in complaining and um, feeling powerless as to how things don't work. I wanted to be always in the position of being the person who knows how to change things, who knows how to clarify things, how to figure out things, how to be in charge of how to create the processes, the results, or the outcomes that I really think is meaningful. So this is the list. As you can see, it's not long, but what really is important is to know that once we start embodying being the person we really want to be and removing the things that we really don't want to, then we already start liking our lives no matter where we are. Right. I remember when I did this, even before even considering transitioning outside of the humanitarian world, I I remember once I started embodying honesty, and honesty with myself, connection with myself. Once I started embodying that already and then saying no to people if I didn't want to do that job or if I didn't want to go to that meeting or if I didn't. And of course, in some ways, it was easier for me at the time because I was in the managerial role. So you start getting more ways to say no to people as well, which I wasn't able to do that before because I wasn't practicing it much. So that's why once I even remember like making shifts of one or two things already, I was feeling so much um, better about myself, so much better about the world around me. So that's why, like, even starting to embody one or two things out of your list and already now, and then asking yourself, how do I be this person? How do I be this honest person? Or how do I be this person in integrity? How do I be this person who is clear in what she wants and does not want? How do I be this person who does not keep seeking people's approval? Or how do I want to be this person who does not need to prove why we need to do what we need to do? Once we start embodying that, then things will start shifting along. And then also, don't forget to remind your brain, remind your mind that you can also decide to be confident person. You can also decide to be the person who clearly communicates what she wants. You can also decide to be the person who does not undermine yourself anymore because there's no need for it. And you can start expressing yourself in the way you want to no matter what the other people are around you saying. You can start embodying those and deciding that this is the person I want to be as of now, and start embodying and acting upon it. And once you start embodying it, you will also start having the feeling around it. And once you have that feeling that confirms that that's the person who you are, then you know that you started rooting being you, being that person you want to be. You started rooting that in your body, in your subconscious, unconscious mind, and you start acting from that place most of the time. Even if you can't do that all of the time, that's okay. But it's important that you start being conscious as to how you are doing it most of the time, and you get proud of doing it. You get proud of being who you are. And then once you start being the person that you really want to be, amazing things start happening, which one of them is you start having the answers to your questions as to what to do next, where to go next. You start then asking questions of, is this environment where I am is conducive to me always being the person I really want, or it's not? Or it will require me a lot of work on my mind, which I don't really want to do, and therefore I want to do something else. It could be an answer, right? So that's why once you start realizing that you have the tools within you to decide who you really want to be at all times, then you realize that all the other requirements, all the other like attachments, all the other like the status, the contract and safety and stability, all of those things don't start becoming so much of an issue for you, because you know that you can be the person to rely on at all times. You can be the person who creates the outcomes that you want at all times. And once you start feeling that certainty, feeling that trust in you, then no matter what the transitioning will follow afterwards, it will not be as scary as you might think. And I really want you to come to this place of experiencing yourself, embodying yourself, being the person you really want to be, and also creating that conditions for others to treat you the way that you really want to be. Once you start doing that, then you're like, I don't know why I haven't done that before. Why? That was my feeling at the time when I started doing these changes. Like in the last 2 years of my humanitarian assignment, I started really embodying being the person I really want to be. I had this revelation of, oh, I could actually stay here and continue doing the work that I do here, or I can also go and do something else. And I chose to go to do something else. And once you have that option within you that says you have the option, you have the ability to create the stability you want, the contract you want, the freedom you want, whatever the things that you want, you start like feeling that power within you, then you start saying, there's actually nothing I can't do in life. That was my prevalent belief, which still continues to carry me through this day. So, my dears, I really want you to have a look at who you are being currently, who you want to be, start making the list, deciding on who you want to be, and start embodying and gathering new evidence for how that is true, no matter what the past is. If you want to take some of the elements from the past, amazing. If you don't, it's also fine. But important that you decide on being the person you want to be and start embodying it. And once you start embodying it, you will start then having answers that you've been looking for already laid out somehow. And then once you start having those answers in front of you, then you will start acting upon them because you are the person who you really want to be. And that's where the magic happens of living the life the way you want to, which I'm really, really advocating for all of you to try out if you haven't tried it yet. Okay, my dears, have an amazing weekend, and I will talk to you next week.